Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 153 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, and we need to start in the usual way. We particularly need to start in the usual way today, just to make sure that there aren't any technical difficulties. Thank you to those of you who tuned in about half an hour ago to help me make sure that there were no audio difficulties. There were no audio difficulties half an hour ago, I can assure you, but with knowing my luck, knowing YouTube's luck, is probably all going to go to pot now. Anyway, first comment for this video goes to Angela saying, hi, Persolaise, and everyone. Hello to you as well, Angela. Thank you very much for tuning in. And well done for getting the time right. Jackie says, so glad to catch you live. Hello from North Carolina, USA. Joanna's saying hello to everyone. Frag Chi-Town, greetings from Chicago. Christoph is saying hello from Germany. And Land of Nothingness is saying hello as well. Hello to all of you. I will try and get through to as many of your comments as I can, so please keep them coming. Please keep the questions coming as well. Rough plan for today, for those of you who are planning to stick around for the lives. Thank you, Olfactophiles. I saw that comment. Thank you. Rough plan for today is that we're going to start with Tom Ford Lost Cherry, which isn't a new release, but is new to me. I've never smelt it. And then we will take a 2-minute break to allow YouTube to do its uploading thing. And I will come back with a new release, a much newer release. And then we'll have to see how we're doing for time, because I also do have potentially a classic choice lined up, actually a choice from the 1950s lined up for a third video, but we'll see how we go. If we can't do that one today, then we'll save it for another day. Before I unseal this one, love your content. I know a man who likes to party when I see one, says Diplomatic. Really? Who have you been talking to? I'm not sure I am that much of a party animal anyway. But anyway, before we unseal and unwrap this one, as this is one of the first videos I'm doing this year, I thought I would just take the opportunity, just in case there are some people who are watching my videos for the first time, to give a sort of 2-minute summary of who I am and what these videos are about. So I do all of my perfume work, my perfume videos, and my perfume writing under the pseudonym Persolaise, which isn't much of a pseudonym anymore because my real name is out there. I've had my persolaise.com blog active since 2010, which means it is actually fast approaching its 11th anniversary. And the way that these live videos, the videos that I call Love at First Scent, came about was in a way, in response to the fact that my written reviews over on persolaise.com are things that I take a lot of time over. I spend a great deal of time wearing the perfumes that I write about. You know, I will wear them over at least 2 days. I will spray them on other people. Not so easy at the moment when there's only one other person that I usually interact with, but never mind. And I really think about my views on the perfumes, and I try to contextualize them. And so the bottom line there is that it does take quite some time and effort and thought to write those 3 or 4 or 5 paragraph reviews for persolaise.com. Love at First Scent, this series on YouTube, is meant to be, in a way, the complete reversal of that. The pure essence of the idea of a Love at First Scent video is that I'm meant to smell these perfumes for the first time. Sometimes I cheat, but never mind. And I give you my first impression. So no thought for deliberation, very little thought for contextualization, very little time even for to allow the perfumes to develop. But that's the idea. It's for us to exchange views and to give you a first impression. And that is also why a few hours after the broadcast, in the video description below, I do what we call a blotter update, where I say how the scent has developed over time. Because even though this series is called Love at First Scent, I'm a very, very strong believer in the fact that we mustn't come to a conclusion about any perfume after just one scent. And so that's why I try to be fair to the perfumes and to give a little bit of an update on how they have fared on the blotter after some time. And then when I link to these videos over on my blog, over on persolaise.com, usually I also go into a little bit more depth, adding maybe a paragraph or two about how my thoughts on the perfume have developed. Okay, so that brings you up to speed, just in case you don't know much about me and about how this channel works. But other than that, This is all about interaction. This is all about having fun. It's all about exchanging views and ideas. It's all about welcoming new people into the fold. It's all about you telling me where you're watching from, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recording. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions, and also if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so, and also spare a thought for supporting my work on Ko-fi. You will find a link to that in the video description below. So I think that's kind of enough of a preamble to start 2021 with. Let's just very, very quickly look at some of the comments we've had. Keith is saying good day from Canada. Eric is in Texas. Land of Nothingness says perhaps a young Persolaise was more of a party animal. Not really. I can't pretend. Dr. Flo says, hello from Tokyo. I finally made a live. You're very, very welcome. Hi. Hello, my friend. Wonderful outfit, says David Santiago. Thank you very much. I listened to your podcast on Max 40, says Kaya, and loved it. Thank you very much for listening to that. Tina's in Germany. Eric says hello from snowy Amsterdam. Rainy Hampshire here, I'm afraid. David says, what are your thoughts about the newly announced Tom Ford Tubereuse Nu? Okay, so let's get straight into Tom Ford, because that's actually the news that Tom Ford has got a new tuberose coming out was actually what gave me the prompt to dig out my sample of Lost Cherry that I got a little while ago. And my response to you, David, is that I seem to be behind with the Tom Fords. Lost Cherry, let me start unsealing it here, doing it a little bit away from the mic. Lost Cherry actually came out towards the end of 2019. Although I think most people really started smelling it at the beginning of 2020. I've yet to smell it. I'm about to smell it now for the first time. Now, since then, we have had Bitter Peach that I've yet to smell. And now, of course, we've had the Tuberose scent announced, which I'd be very curious to try. I don't quite know how that's happened. I think there was a time when I was up to speed with all the Tom Ford releases, but for some reason I seem to be behind now. I know that one of the Cologne style releases, the Costa Azzurra, I think is getting a bottle of its own, which is interesting. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so this is the 10ml travel spray presentation, I guess, which comes in, I think, rather an attractive container. It's not refillable, I suppose, or is it refillable? No, I don't think it's not refillable. One that I've actually tried, says Eric, just on a blotter, but still. Yes, and that's why I thought I don't do this enough. I don't do slightly older scents enough, because of course the problem with doing ones that are brand new is that most of you haven't tried them yet, and so we can't have that much of an exchange of views. So I try to mix it up a little bit sometimes and do older ones. We also have Rose Prick, another great one from this brand. Now that I did review Flaconess. I definitely did do a video on that one. I think they are refillable, says Time to Musk Up. Well, anyway, Lost Cherry, before we completely go off on a tangent and not even smell this. I was disappointed with Lost Cherry. I liked it but expected to love it, says Angela. I don't have a lot of time for these sort of nudge nudge wink wink juvenile names that Mr. Ford seems to be choosing for some of his perfumes. I won't mention the FF one. I refuse to have any to talk about that perfume really. Lost Cherry, Bitter Peach. Okay, I mean Rose Prick. Ha, yes, very funny. But let's take a look at. Let's have a sniff of Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. Anybody who's watched the Black Orchid, one of the Black Orchid videos, may now be thinking about cucumbers, but never mind. I really, really don't want to go there. Ashfaq says, I tried it at Dubai duty free. Meh. Okay, let's see. Okay, my first impression is, yeah, maybe the cherry has been lost, but the almond has been found. Shades of, very, very strong shades of, which was the Dior Poison Flanker made by Annick Menardo. Maybe there was more than one, but I'm thinking of Hypnotic Poison. The one that had a very, very, very strong almond note, because I think it was meant to make us think of cyanide. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Hypnotic Poison. Hypnotic Poison indeed. Thank you, David. It sounds like it does the sort of job Hypnotic Poison does, says Gavin. So far, I'm thinking Hypnotic Poison. That's the problem for me, says Angela. The almond is too strong. It's very almondy at the moment, isn't it? And I'm thinking at least at this point, that isn't necessarily a problem, because of course, is it in all varieties of cherries? But certainly in a lot of varieties of cherries, if you get down to the stone, and if you break into that, the what is it inside it? The little seed, the little fruit. Biologists, help me out. If you bite on that, that has a very, very strong almondy taste, doesn't it? I have to say, I'm intrigued by this actually, because it's doing this kind of bitter almond, marzipan-y, the pit. Thank you, Miguel. Can you tell I'm a trained English teacher? Thank you. It's doing this bitter, marzipan-y, almondy, sour thing in the middle, and yet on the outside there's very definitely a sweet, glacé, cherry thing happening. And it actually, it sort of works. I wasn't expecting it to quite have to have quite so many layers as it does. Is it comparable to Métallique, says David? Oh gosh, no, from memory, not at all. That one, if memory serves, seemed to be much more about sort of candle waxy aldehydes and mimosa quietness. No. Benjamin says, I do love the Di Serrano type almond liqueur opening. Thought I loved it, bought it. After that, the dry down is too sweet for me, sold it. Lol. Okay, interesting. So maybe it will just get sweeter and sweeter as it goes along. Gavin says, sounds like Miss Marple could find Tom Ford's lost cherry. What, as portrayed by Joan Hickson, do you think? Bitter almond smell always led her to the murderer. Well, quite a lot of the time. The Colonel, says Ashfaq. Yes, it could be the Colonel, I suppose. This is really bad. We need to know the proper name for this. Olfactophile says, lost cherry is a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I was lucky to find a bottle half off. I enjoy almond and also really like hypnotic poison. This one will be interesting to try on skin. And I suppose if Tom Ford with this one was trying to play the juvenile card a little bit, I think he's thrown a little bit of a curveball with that bitter almond note. And it's also doing something that so often works quite well in perfumery, taking an accord or a note that actually is quite cheap and yet filling it in, or cheap smelling, I should say, maybe almost like tacky smelling, vulgar smelling, and filling it in or framing it with hints of something that smells a bit more substantial. And that so often creates an interesting effect in perfumery. Like actually, for example, in something like Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather, that starts off with this potentially, possibly vulgar, tacky, cheap, tart strawberry, tart raspberry note, but then goes into a really, really smooth, suave leather. And this is doing that kind of thing. A few more comments, and then I've just got just a couple of lines from the brand about the scent. This one smells like Bath and Body Works, says Udo Pantograph, if you say so. Olfactophiles, yes, Keith, mine as well. Oh, a lost cherry disappears from my skin very quickly, says Keith. Interesting. I sometimes layer it with Baccarat Rouge 540 to help with longevity. Wow, that must smell interesting. Time to musk up. Is Rouge Smoke really that similar to Lost Cherry? God, I'd have to do a side-by-side. Sorry, I don't know. I never liked Hypnotic Poison either, says Angela. Well, it will be interesting to see how this performs on the blotter. Let's just see very quickly what the brand blurb is about it, and then I think we'll say that this video is over and move on to the next one. The perfumer, by the way, according to the net, is Louise Turner. The brand Tom Ford still inexplicably do not officially reveal the identity of the perfumer. I personally don't understand why. It seems like to me it seems like it would be a very Tom Ford thing to do, to reveal the identity of the perfumer, but there we are. Tom Ford Lost Cherry is a full-bodied journey into the once forbidden. Here we go. A contrasting scent, yes, that reveals a tempting dichotomy of playful candy-like gleam on the outside and luscious flesh on the inside. Wow. Well done, press release. Innocence intersects indulgence. I have no idea what that means. With an opening that captures the classic perfection of the exotic cherry fruit, black cherries, ripe flesh, dripping in cherry liqueur, glistens with a teasing touch of bitter almond. Punctuation somewhere, or maybe this has not been transcribed well. The heart bursts forth in cherry waves of sweet and tart griotte syrup, expresses the textured maceration of voluptuous fruit, while breathtaking florals, Turkish rose and jasmine sambac penetrate the senses and soul. Yeah, I suppose a jasmine-y note in there. Peru balsam and roasted tonka at the dry down suggest a new portrait of an iconic symbol. When blended with an unexpected melange of sandalwood, vetiver and cedar, the finish reaches fantasy-inspiring levels of insatiability. If you say so. But no, I'm not dismissing this at all. This needs some careful thought, because as I said a few minutes ago, the way it's creating this real image of something happening on the outside and then something else happening in the nucleus at the core is fascinating, and it works very well on paper. It'll be interesting to see how it works on skin. Ashfalka has just written sandalwood lol. Well, if they're allowed to say cherry, they're allowed to say sandalwood, right? Is it overpriced or too overpriced? Oh, Tom Ford private blend pricing is a subject for a whole other video. Didn't love Lost Cherry, says Gatsby Nouvelle. It was a bit too sweet and medicinal for me. I struggle with Tom Ford fragrances in general, though. Keep trying samples to find one that hits right. And let's give the last comment to Jackie, who says, same. I'm new to the brand, but so far I didn't care for Tobacco Vanille or Soleil Blanc, even though everyone seems to love them. My favourite is still Santal Blush. I have a lot of time for Tuscan Leather. I have a lot of time for Noir de Noir. Neroli Portofino, I suppose, is very, very pleasing, but I don't personally wear it much myself. I like the Forte version of it more. And there are some that I really, really love and appreciate and admire. But I've kind of lost a handle on what they've been releasing lately. I adore Santal Blush, I saw somebody saying. Okay, I think we better stop. So here's the end of this video. Thank you very much to those of you who tuned in. If you are sticking around with the lives, I will be back in a couple of minutes with a much newer release from a different brand. So see you soon. Take care. Bye.